If you're here today, you're here for the right reasons, because let's face it, the market sucks, right? So you're here because you're a real technologist. So what I'd like to do at the beginning here is I'm going to go over some ground rules for this week, or whatever today is. So, business is as follows. First of all, I'd like to call Scott. Scott, where you at? Scotty. He's upstairs. Scott, if you don't mind just jumping up here real quick. Then of course everybody did this thing they do where it's like now it's monkey picks and now it's, whatever, DeFi, CeFi, whatever. So I think probably our job for the next several years is to really help define the definition of truly what Web3 is. And I think once we get down to brass tacks and all the monkey picks and all the other stuff kind of phases their way out, I think what you'll see is Web3 standing as an infrastructure play.
Amazing. Okay, so that's out of the way. Web3 is not a marketing term. It's not a gimmick. And it's not going away.
It's not going away.
We're building on it right now.
Absolutely.
So that's what's happening on the panel. Before we go any further though, let's quickly, for anybody in the audience who's not as familiar with the team, we're going to start all the way to that side and then come back over this way.
Absolutely.
Tell us about yourself in 30 seconds.
30 seconds. My name is Alex. I flew all the way from Switzerland, and I'm actually working with Davey on various work and the deployment within the rest of the team.
Amazing.
Alex, that's 5 seconds. You have 30. I'll take care of the 25. I'm David Whitlock. I'm the CBO for Flux. It's my job to make connections, make events like this. Scott, I don't know where you are. Thank you for guiding us through this, because for most of us, this was a new experience, interesting experience. But I'm glad I got the DeLorean here at least. But yeah, it's my job to make sure we have the connections in the Web3 space, but also the Web2 space, and see where we find connections with folks to work together, collaborate, and make life easier for a lot of folks out there, and a lot less expensive as it is today.
Yeah, that's for you, Davey. Those are for you. I really like you.
I'm Jeremy Anderson, current CTO in Flux, so my job is to kind of lead the technology team to deploy as many apps as we can, create new technologies, like Dan said, in the disruptive space. You're going to see a lot of that while we're here, so hopefully you guys are ready to see some new technology that we've been developing over the last year and some longer than that. Super excited to be here and showcase all of that to you guys. But
yeah, you guys will actually be the first group, and whoever's watching on live stream will be the very first ones to see proof of use work in action today. So you're going to really get down to brass tacks and be tomorrow.
Tomorrow, man. Tomorrow.
What a tease.
So yeah, you guys will be the first group to ever see it like in prime time, right? So it's pretty cool.
Some scary things.
Yeah, some scary things. Yeah.
Awesome. And I'm going to just briefly introduce myself. I know a lot of the audience here doesn't know. I'm the only person on the stage who's not directly attached to Flux. My name is Seth. I go by the handle Mind Your Biz. Previously marketer at Lunar Digital Assets, the first agency of record for Polygon, formerly Mavic, then at Viral Nation, the Web3 resource for the largest influencer talent management agency in the world. And now, here with these guys.
Yeah.
Talking about Web3.
So where Seth got hooked in at the last minute, I'm like, Seth, can you help us out? Hell yeah. He just jumped up here and he's going to help lead it. So that was really nice. That's the one thing about people in the Flux community, or really honestly in like the blockchain community. Not when I say blockchain, it's the technology side of it, not the crypto world. That's toxic as fuck, and we all know that. But sorry, I know there's kids. Sorry, I'm sorry. Uncle Dan's gonna have to figure this out. So it's very toxic, and it really creates an environment where people burn out quickly. But the blockchain folks are the ones that are in it for the long haul. And that's one thing that I've seen is, especially within Flux, is people are willing to help each other. And that's really the way it should be.
100%. Was it Mr. Rogers who said that in a time of crisis, you look for the helpers?
Yes.
Everyone building infrastructure. I mean, this is the helpers, right? You're making the infrastructure so everything that needs to be built can be built.
Absolutely.
All foundational work. But with that in mind, let's jump back into Web3 real fast. So there's a lot of the term Web 2.5, right? Bridge technologies, the messy middle, right, of technology development.
Yep.
Where are we realistically? This is kind of for the whole group. Please just tackle this as you see fit, just popcorn style. If you have an idea, just pop in. But between Web 2.5, this idea that we're really mired in DNS and all that infrastructure that you have to respect to exist in today's world. Where are we really between Web 2.5 and Web 3?
In my opinion, I think we are still in that 2.5 space where we do rely on these legacy infrastructures to get going and to get deployed. But as far as I can see, Flux is really pushing the boundary to really reach that 3.0 as quickly as we can. We allow deployment of decentralized applications that are not owned by Google or AWS or any of the other bigger companies out there. I can name drop for days. But in reality, we just aren't quite 3.0 yet. And that's our goal, is to be able to offer that to people, to say, hey, yeah, you can deploy on a 3.0 infrastructure where it's not owned by anybody, it's very secure, you have complete security controls over everything. But at the moment, we're still in the integration spot of how do we get there? So that's what we're thinking for the future, is how do we deploy things better so that we can get to that and see that in the future. That's where I see ourselves right now, personally.
And I'll expand just a little bit on that. I think the necessary transition from Web 2 to Web 3 requires Web 2.5 because you're only as decentralized as your most centralized part. So, I mean, things like Flux, we had to rebuild domain managers. So FDM is a product we built that was Web 3 based. We had to have a self-sovereign ID, so we had to create Zelcore. We had to, all these components that exist in Web 2, we have to replicate those. So from a team development standpoint, it's a heavy lift. But from an adoption standpoint, what we're doing is we're trying to usher in a seamless transition from Web 2 to Web 3, and I don't believe that we'll dethrone AWS and Google and so on, but I think what you'll see is we augment them well. So, we already see companies deploying that have already deployed in Web 2, at AWS, Illumin, and OVH, and they're starting to load balance to Web 3. So they're making that gradual transition, and us technologists know that that's what it was like when we went from on-prem to cloud compute. But if we can make that onboarding process seamless, if it looks and feels and smells like, easy onboarding. Somebody just deployed a WordPress site the other day and they said, holy crap, I was expecting it to be so much harder than it was. And, we're only in beta on that. So we're all taking that info and we're making that, we're setting that up to be even better. So good stuff happening. So I think it's a necessary component. So I think a lot of people use 2.5 as a negative knock, and I don't see it that way. I see it as a natural transition.
No, of course, absolutely. I think some people are using that term though, and forgive me for applying something to a marketer's brain. David Ogilvy famously said that the customer's not an idiot, the customer's your wife. So trying to figure out the end user, how do you get them to grok something in a really simple explanation? I think that's where the term Web 2.5 has come from.
Yeah.
But it is still, it's an acknowledgement of the fact that we are in a bridge state right now. It's not all the way there yet.
That's blockchain overall, really, when you think about it. I mean, it's iterative technology. It's constantly changing. In flux, no pun intended. Because we've seen things continue to keep developing out, and sometimes it happens in days. Like we realize that this doesn't work and we have to create that, we go out and create it, now it's been completed. So, I think for the next 5 years, we're going to be in a constant perpetual build state, and I think that, that's what we need. To make it decentralized, make it robust, secure, private, we don't know what that technology looks like because it's never been invented, and that's kind of what we're doing.
Amazing. So opportunities right now, and I'm going to intentionally pick on Alex and Davey just a little bit, but opportunities right now, where's the delta, right? And not to make it weird, like add more work. Jeremy's like, dude, if you add to my roadmap, I know where you live. But seriously, where do we need to build collectively? No pressure.
He always has to check with Alex to make sure he can say the things that he's going to say.
The other way around?
Oh, it's the other way around?
I don't think it's the other way around. Where are we today? Can you ask questions?
Sure. So again, we're in a bridge state right now. We know there's stuff that still needs to be maybe conceived, right? To use Dan's opening example, you know, where we're going, maybe we don't need roads, but what do we need?
Well, we basically invented the flying car already, but people are just not using it yet. We got Web3 going. It's live, it's operational, it's Flux OS, it's right there. What people are scared of in businesses, and we talk about this often enough, is the transition going from cloud now to Web3 cloud. The same transition issues happened 10, 15 years ago when people were talking going from on-prem to cloud. People were scared. I'm not putting it in some cloud solution. I want to have it here. I want my data here. Now it's letting go from, I trust Amazon, I trust Google with my data, to a certain point. And now I'm putting it in a decentralized environment. You're trusting technology going forward. And that's a big leap for a lot of people. But it's here, it's there. People can start using it. But what we're doing now is we're making it easier, the Web.2, or 2.5, sorry, and making it easier for them to transition over. WordPress is a perfect example of it. 20-year-old software running in a decentralized fashion. It was not an easy task. It took us a little longer than we all expected because it was working out of the box, but then you start noticing what happens in a decentralized network. But we got it working, and it's been stable so far.
And kudos for that, guys. Seriously, round of applause for getting this consumer-oriented application. Zero DevOps technician necessary. Just a typical user can go deploy their own website like that. Poor Dan, like he was getting from me like when WordPress, you know, when user like self-help to
Yeah, easy. Yeah, so I mean, it's like any other technology. You have to build that base layer, and then you have to work towards your, you know, what I call the adoption layer. Because what I've told these guys before, we're a little bit slower to release things, and people get pissed because we've been talking about proof of use and work for what?
Going on 6 years.
6 years, yeah. And people are like, why didn't it get released sooner? The reason it didn't get released sooner is because we were constantly building on that back end to get that adoption phase locked in. Because if you build a technology, you publish it, you put it out there for users to use, and they come in and they have a shitty experience, they're not coming back. You know, so we are on the clock in terms of making a product that's easily adoptable. We want, you know, my mom to be able to set up, a node or something like that. So in everything that we do in the product, and it really should be this way with anything that you're doing in the blockchain space, is you look at your end user and you work backwards. My wife goes to the ATM, she puts the card in, she puts her PIN in, she takes her money, she takes her card, she drives off. She doesn't care about all the background that happened with that. She had a very seamless, quick experience. She was in and out, she got what she needed, she was gone. So we need to make it exactly like that. We need to build it out where people don't even really necessarily understand they're running on Web3. It's just a thing. It's just in the background. Do you want to go Web3, which is cheaper, faster, scalable, decentralized, or you want to go with Web 2, where all your stuff's going to get monetized and, scoured the whole 9 yards? Well, I think I'm going to go over here.
Amazing, yeah. So this is, and it seems like in that use case, with the end user having it be a seamless experience, I mean, again, pardon me doing this through a marketer's frame, because I'm trying to think, how does that retail participant just decide, hey, well, I don't have exposure to some kind of this asset class of crypto,
right?
But I do see that there are some unique benefits to going Web3.
Yeah, and absolutely, and so that's a great point, because what we're working really on is that seamless onboarding. That means you don't even use the word crypto. You can pay in crypto if you'd like. You can pay in Flux, Bitcoin, whatever cryptocurrency. I mean, we've integrated Crypto.com, Coinbase, Stripe, all that kind of stuff. But really what it comes down to is if I am a business and I need to budget for my fiscal budget, I can't put in there, I might need 100,000 Flux, or it could be 300,000 Flux, or it could be 50,000 Flux. We need to be able to peg that to fiat because that's what the on-ramp scenario is. So adding fiat on-ramp, making it feel seamless, up to 1 year subscriptions, very little interaction with the blockchain, so to speak. It's just more technology on the front side. So yeah, I think we're on our way with that. I really do. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised as we come out of beta.
That's amazing. So Jeremy, last time we talked, I remember you were very excited about hierarchical determinism in nodes, in node infrastructure and rollout. What is and I'm sorry to bring it to this level now. We'll go from full like the customer is your mom or your wife, all the way over to like, okay, so what actually
how the infrastructure works? Yeah.
How is this being built? How are we building the flying car?
Well, like you said, the hierarchical node structure. So we have currently on Flux, we have 3 different tiers of nodes, right? And I'll get pretty technical here, but try to make it as simple as possible. So the highest tier node, it's providing the most infrastructure, the most storage capacity, the higher amounts of RAM, better network speeds, stuff like that. We want to be able to deploy more enterprise-like infrastructure on these nodes. Then we have a tier down that's called the Nimbus nodes, and they're a little bit less hardware reliant, so less storage available, less RAM needed, less of everything. And that's where we kind of wanted to be able to deploy like block explorers and other decentralized protocols and technologies that people want to take nodes, stuff like that. Yeah, so pretty much any other master node protocol out there, if everyone doesn't know, they're all deployed on Flux. A lot of them are, at least, and that's kind of where they're getting deployed at, is that middle tier. And then we have the lower tier, which is much cheaper to deploy, like less than around $5 to $10 to deploy an actual node a month. And that's where we're trying to deploy websites like WordPress sites, stuff like that, stuff that doesn't need a lot of infrastructure to run, but can still have high availability, high network management, stuff like that. So that's where we want the majority of the WordPress sites to be running, the lower end technologies that are being deployed. But what's really cool is FluxOS manages all that for you. So you don't have to, you can select which node you want to do, but if you just say, hey, this is my application, this is the resources that it consumes, FluxOS is going to just deploy you on a node that it thinks is the best fit for your application for you. So you don't have to do a lot of DevOpsy stuff, which is what we're trying to get to, right? We just want the user to be able to deploy quickly and efficiently, be able to access their application, and to them, it's just a website, and it's easy and seamless. So I think that the hierarchical node structure does allow us to do that in a way that other technologies don't. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. So to use an example, if you can launch a website by doing a one-click install on, say, like DigitalOcean or Linode, then you're going to have a pretty similarly easy time deploying FluxOS.
That's the goal.
Yeah, that's our competition. We would like to be similar to that.
Yeah, and we do, we always say internally, two things. We ask ourselves, what are the problems that we're fixing? Because really that's a big lacking piece of the blockchain world is like, what problem do you fix? Oh, your transactional validator? Okay, we have that, right? So what Flux fixes is it bridges the gap for projects to become more decentralized on top of that. So not only is it providing infrastructure peer-to-peer to the people who have infrastructure and to the people who need infrastructure, but it's also helping projects that are building decentralized, to start scaling toward decentralization. It provides them basically an entire ecosystem for deployment. So, we've got Haven, we've got Pivx, we've got Dash, we've got all these nodes that are running. So now what Flux has done is it's made it even more decentralized. And why is that important? Well, just yesterday, Chase announced they're going to kick all the crypto people out. No more Chase payments. What happens when AWS decides that blockchain is competition? Or Google says, you know what? I'm going to be evil. And all of a sudden, they just ban every single blockchain project.
First off, Ethereum breaks overnight, I think.
Yeah.
If AWS decides to hate crypto, Vitalik is screwed.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think what that does is it gives us, and I've said this for years, I said when a pivotal moment happens, and I'll talk about this in my keynote later, but when a pivotal moment happens, there'll have to be somebody to fill the void. And our goal, and what we've been working unbelievably hard at, was getting us to the point where when that void when it happens, and we're going to know when it happens, that it's an immediately just, transition over to Web3. So.
Amazing. Right now today, so let's go back to that customer avatar, right? Like that ideal customer profile of like whatever, mom or grandma or your wife. What kinds of unique benefits are we offering them right now as we're still ramping all the way into that finished state? Is it about the security? Is it about the uncensorability? What are the things that we're hearing? And here's the thing. I'm going to involve the audience a little bit. You guys want to just throw out a word that's attracting you to some of this technology, just throw it out there. But what are you hearing so far as far as reasons to get migrated to Web3? Because going from on-prem to cloud or hybrid, that transition was messy, it took a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Federal regulations that prevent it in some cases, or
and there's going to be a time where I've been down to DC a few times and explained Web3, and our Senate and our Congress are going to shit their pants when they realize they can't control your data anymore. And we're definitely going to see us become the enemy, because ultimately it's a control state right now. I mean, Biden just lost a court case specifically about utilizing social media to influence elections, input, all things like that. So I think we're eventually going to be the bad guy. First they laugh at you, then they fight you. Then you win in the end, right? So there's an adoption level there. So what we're trying to do as a team is get this so decentralized that it doesn't matter. You could come after Dan personally, and I can't stop Flux, Jeremy can't stop Flux, Davey can't stop Flux, and we're there with that. Because we need to be so decentralized that if Dan gets hit by a bus tomorrow, this thing just keeps going. So, that the answer to your question is, I think some of the words that really kind of, and you guys feel free to join in, we're here because it's called Cypherpunk. Privacy and the ability to own your data. Decentralization, scalability, flexibility. The thing that nobody talks about is cost. We're pennies on the dollar what AWS and Google costs. Why is that important? People are eliminating their IT staff. Why? Not because they don't want a lower level of service, because they can't afford it. If we give them a solution that's affordable that they can deploy on, and it basically gives them a higher level of IT services, Dish Network just deployed a front end on Flux. Why is that important? Because they're learning how Flux is working, and they're liking it as they go. Because it's cheaper, it's faster, it's stronger, it's decentralized, and you don't have an entity that controls it. So I think that those are some things that speak to me.
One of the main aspects for me is just data privacy. Just every single one of these companies that we all use, right? I still use them on the daily. They're all scanning your data every day, trying to send ads at you, trying to get you to purchase products. They're selling your data to whoever knows what.
But Jeremy, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear, right?
Yeah, but I don't want to see products being pushed in my face every hour. It's quite annoying.
I mentioned something the other day I had to buy, and like 15 minutes later it pops up on my phone. I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, that happens quite often. But yeah, data privacy is one of the big aspects of Web3. What we're trying to give to the consumer is this, by using us, you're natively just having more data privacy than you would if you were to deploy on at a bigger company. Good for proxies.
Yeah, proxy. That's important. That's a huge
important.
Piece.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We take for granted the technology, and even though we've got a lot of regulatory ambiguity, we're a little bit freer in the States than most. In China, this is a problem, and the proxies play a big piece of that, and it gives you your privacy back. Anybody that uses VPN knows how important that is as well. So, yeah, I agree, Jeremy.
In beta right now, we have Flux Drive, which is our file storage platform, and that's all private. So, if you're using Google Drive, they're scanning every document that you put up there, every picture, everything. So, and they're going to use that data against you as you're a consumer of their product, and they're going to use all your data against yourself to make more money. So, our goal is to slowly just move away from that and allow the user to own their own data.
Okay, awesome. So this is what you're hearing too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Is that people are saying, okay,
Oh yeah, I mean, the large enterprise institutional players that are out there, and the mid-tier, and the blockchain projects, and even the small small customer base, even the individuals are like, hey, we want to be able to monetize and utilize our data. You know, it doesn't mean monetization goes away, but the difference is you're in control of what you monetize. Maybe I want to let them know what my shopping pattern is, right? And in return, I'm going to be monetized for that. You know, you're right. A big one for me is electronic medical records. If you've ever been to a hospital, and I've had a chronic illness for the better part of 11 years. It took me 3 years to go to 13 different doctors. And every single one, I had a file this big, and I was like, God, there's got to be a better way than this. This is bullshit. And now you'll be able to hold your EMR. Matter of fact, Paradigm's getting ready to go through a workup right now, which is one of our projects that is EMR. It'll be built into the Zelcore wallet, essentially at some point. And you'll be able to carry your portable EMR with you, which is huge. So I think there's lots of opportunities like that.
Amazing. Davey, Alex, just really quickly, I mean, any final thoughts on this topic? Because this is kind of a teaser, right? Just the Web3 intro for the day.
I think for us, and for me and Alex, I think for us, Web3 is also important for our next generation. So we're focused mostly on students. Alex's background with university, me with my 4 kiddos going through high school right now, seeing them utilize Flux, deploying websites, deploying their little projects that they're working on. Minecraft, and they build out an entire world, and I'll set up a workstation so you guys can enjoy it as well. Thank you, Tom, and the audience for helping that build out. Seeing Minecraft now on Flux, and I was demonstrating it in New York last week to some Wall Street folks. As much money as these guys might have, they all like to game, right? So that drew in folks like, ooh, there's Minecraft there. So they were playing Minecraft, and they're like, so where is this running? Is this on this machine? I'm like, no, actually it's on a server. I thought it was in Florida. Turns out it was in Germany, and they didn't even realize. And with the spotty Wi-Fi we had there, it was just flawless. It's still the same world from Mining Disrupt. So thank you, Tom, again. We got full, all the data moves over from wherever it goes. But it's great to see. For me, Web3 is sort of the next generation. Kids building on top of it. My kids are already very involved in the Flux world, but also just getting to know the blockchain and utilizing it, teaching their peers, teaching their teachers. It's going to change their way of thinking, decentralized thinking, and we're teaching them to utilize other providers out there, not just the main ones that you and I all use, the gmail.coms, the hotmail.coms, and so I'm really old. It's still there, it exists still. Hotmail is still a thing. But that's the things that we all grew up with, right? That's what we started using when we were students. Now we're teaching them that there's other things as well.
Amazing. I'm getting the high sign from our stage manager that we're going to wrap right now. But any final words, just send us off here, Alex. Your final thoughts on just kicking the day off with where we are right now, bridging in Web3.
I'll just go over AI real quick. As scary as it may seem, it's making our lives much more convenient, and by bringing all these vital resources, allowing resources together and pulling together, we also contribute to make our lives more convenient as well, by basically building up.
Amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry, lady and gentlemen, round of applause for